I'm Bosch. I'm the butcher.
I'm Yost. I'm the chef.
Welcome to Marble and Grain. This episode, we're talking about flat iron steaks.
Also, just so people know what a flat iron steak, what's the more common piece out there?
So it starts off on the shoulder blade, as they call it a blade roast. It's on top of the shoulder blade, called a blade roast. By kosher butchers, they'll call it a minute roast. What it is you'd have, right here I have two steaks here. You normally have a gristle between the two steaks, and we would.
Well, that's that really chewy, ugly thing, right?
Yep, it's inedible. It's that hard white stuff.
Yeah.
You'll sit there and gnaw on it.
It's good for the dogs, right?
Makes a great stock.
Oh, that too.
Cook it down into a stock, all that collagen. You would go between the two steaks, pull out the gristle, and you're left with two flat iron steaks. These things are delicious.
This is where it begins, with farm-raised cattle on the rolling fields of American grasslands. Top quality is not just something we say around here. It's what we believe in. That's why we go above and beyond to exceed your culinary expectations by delivering top-tier, restaurant-grade Black Angus beef. Crafted, cut, and packaged under strict supervision. Only the finest cuts make it onto your plate. Explore our carefully curated selection from the comfort of home. Indulge in the art of flavor. Savor each bite, knowing that you've chosen the very best. Marble and Grain.
They're so well marbled, and they're also much easier, I find, much easier to cook than a minute roast.
I was about to say, with the thickness, they take. Now this is really a minute roast because this will take a minute. I mean,
Right, and it's versatile. You could do it on a pan, on a flat top, on a grill, in a broiler.
it makes great pepper steak. After you cook it,
a wok.
slice it thin, or slice it
Yeah.
thin, then toss it in a wok. It's tender, it's juicy, it's flavorful. What else could you ask for?
Oh, I can't wait to get going on one of these. Let me ask you a question. So a lot of recipes out there, especially non-kosher ones, they talk about salting a few hours before. With kosher meat, we all know part of the koshering process is salted. Does that affect, and what's your philosophy on salting these kind of cuts in general?
For any cut other than your skirt steak and your hanger steak, I almost called it a tender hanger, I would treat it the same way as non-kosher meat. The koshering process is on big primals, your brisket, your chuck, your ribs. It's all in these big chunks of meat, and it's only for an hour, and then they get rinsed and soaked again.
Like 3 times, right?
Everything has to get rinsed 3 times. Water has to be changed between them. It has to be soaked or has to be rinsed or soaked beforehand. That loosens up the blood, allows the blood to come out easier. Also, it allows the salt to stick to the meat better. It then sits there for anywhere between just a rinse and a half an hour, depending on Ramah, Beit Yosef. It then gets salted. Salting, it'll sit there anywhere between 18 minutes and an hour. Also, once again, Ramah, Beit Yosef, how stringent you're being. As far as I know, the OU holds around 45 minutes. It then comes out of the salt, gets rinsed off, water changed, rinsed, water changed, rinsed. And in that process, you're pulling out most of the salt that was absorbed in that hour.
Got it. So it shouldn't affect the inner cut piece like
Correct.
this from the inside of the chuck.
Especially on this, where you have nothing around it,
Got it.
or you have something around it, it's not soaking in far enough. So for here, I like to measure out my salt, which will be another episode, but we'll get into how different salt weighs different amounts. I like to put about 1% salt on most of my meat, and I'll leave it with that up to 3 days in the fridge. It gives it time for the salt to absorb into the meat. The salt will then break down the proteins in the meat, softening the meat and flavoring it.
Even before you hit any fire.
Correct.
Beautiful.
You'll notice a difference also. It reduces what's called moisture water movement. Water movement is partially involved with how much water retention you have when the steak is cooked, how much it shrinks, how juicy it is. That's all part of water movement. That's reduced by the salt, which holds on to the water.
Got it.
So it gives you a juicier, more tender cut. If you have those 3 days, always do it in the fridge, in a Ziploc.
And let's say you don't have those 2 days, it still will do the
Still-
same effect if you do it in the morning and you're cooking it at night.
The
you know?
longer you have, the better it is.
But not everyone's you and me that think about their meat 3 days
3 days.
ahead.
Or has the fridge room for it.
Correct.
The one other great thing about this is it's such a juicy, tender cut. You can slice it really thin, and you could even just give this a sear or eat it straight. It's delicious.
Wow, excellent. Cannot wait.
Look for us on the next episode for Marble and Grain.
We're going to talk about salt, I think,
Yep.
on our next episode. I'm really excited because everyone's just kosher salt, there's table salt, there's all these different salts. Measurements are different in cookbooks.
Yep.
It's confusing out there.
The salt is almost as important as the quality of your meat. Marble and Grain, we have the highest quality meat direct to you guys.
Can't wait to talk about salt and see what's the highest quality of salt to match with our Marble and Grain meat.
Let's do it.
Okay.